Dot Ford. Banner on the side of that. Number 14 qualifier right side. Number 17 so far left lane. Divine Luck number 1 red for Johnson. Not going to matter here in qualifying though. 6:83 at 2:03. Stott goes 6:53 at 175. Moves on up to the number 9 spot.
Wow, are they getting angry in that puddle, aren't they? Good burnouts right there. That one in the left lane of the blue Chevrolet Corvette. Already backing up the split window. Michael Scott coming up, Lakeland, Florida. 63 Chevrolet Corvette.
32 cubic inches of motor over there in that nitrous powered Corvette left side. Brandon Miller right lane, 744. Quite a few more wedged down in that pickup truck. 2000 S10 out of Canterbury, Connecticut. The right trailers banner car, this beautiful 63 Corvette in the left-hand lane.
What do you think down there? Stop for Michael Scott in that Chevrolet Corvette. 720 at 190 miles per hour for that beast in Top Sportsman. Here comes one of the best in the business, right?
All right, your number 11 qualifier here, left-hand side, Trent Wilson out of San Antonio, Texas. Good looking nitrous Camaro with a big hoot scoop on that. 872 cubic inches of rare Morrison power plant. Beautiful race car. Right side, out of Mooresville, North Carolina, Wilkins Motorsports. Engine builder, machine shop by trade, used to work at Roush Yates. Many-time, multi-time world champion at Top Sportsman. 1969 Camaro with a Wilkins motor underneath the hood. This is Sandy Wilkins. He qualified number 8, 652 at 213 to date. Let's see if he can try to better that number. Currently number 8. He wants to move up just a little bit. Sandy Wilkins, 649 at 214. He betters it. Left side, Wilson, 697 at 201. Sandy Wilkins moves up one spot to number 8. Trent Wilson up quite a few at number 11, 660 at 204. They are locked in and set. That was the last of our Top Sportsman category. No, he's 8.
Wow, that was a major moment there, Jack.
Yeah, I'm sitting here taking notes, getting ready for pro stock, and all of a sudden look up there and we got a car in the sand up on its side. Got it back down on the wheels.
Yeah, he rolled it all the way over.
Yeah, first thing we're going to do is make sure the driver's okay, climb out. And from this angle, it's hard to see the extent of the damage. I don't know if we're going to get a replay on this one.
He took it all the way down to the sand at the far end, and that's when it got upside down.
Yeah, and unfortunately, drag cars are
out of
built to be as light as possible. And that includes a fiberglass or carbon fiber body, and they are not designed to sustain any loads, and they're not designed to bump into curbs, and they're not designed to be flipped over onto their roofs. Well, we got the driver out, and he's walking around.
Here's a look at it.
You know what? He looks pretty mad. Yeah, no parachutes out on that thing. That's the first thing that was readily apparent. And then you get on the brakes, and a lot of these cars have carbon brakes, which when they get heat in them, they get better. And it looks like what happened is as he was trying to slow it down, actually locked up the brakes, and the car slid. And at that point, the driver has to get off the brakes. He's run out of real estate to slow the car down, got no choice but to try to go into the sand, puts it up on its side. And it looks like he may have mitigated some big damage to that car.
Got very lucky that, as you said, it doesn't look like the car sustained much damage to the body at all.
Well, it's always a good sign when the driver gets out and they're mad.
Yeah.
Because that means they're probably not hurt. And then they're realizing, I banged my car up. And, you know, now you're going to assess. First, you got to remove the car from there, and he'll take it back there and shake the sand out of it and see if anything's bent up on it. But could have been a heck of a lot worse.
No, you're good. It's not your fault.
He said, what the?
So, Ralph, this one, fortunately, was fairly uneventful. I don't mean to minimize to that driver what happened to his car. But this is where, as a driver, you are thankful that you've got a track crew, that you've got a group of safety men and women who are on the ball and were rolling on that thing before the car came to a stop. First concern of theirs is let's make sure the driver's okay, because sometimes
Trent Wilson, by the way.
Yeah, and making sure Trent was okay, because you don't know if it was an issue with the driver that may have caused the crash, or you don't know if the crash caused an issue with the driver. And some of the crashes that don't look that bad still potentially can inflict some serious injuries there. So made sure Trent was okay, and now we're going to extricate the car. You know, unfortunately, again, this is just part of drag racing. It's cars that go really, really fast, and they need parachutes to safely slow down at most of these tracks. And in the event they don't work and then the brakes lock up, that's sometimes what happens. At some of these shorter tracks, you'd have a minimal overrun area. We call it a sand trap. Most of the tracks converted to a pea gravel, more like what NASCAR or Formula One use. And based on my amateur testing, here's what I've found. In one direction, it doesn't seem to do a damn thing to slow the car down. But boy, when you need to tow that car back out of there, it works tremendously
It does a great job of keeping it
for
in.
resisting movement. Yeah, you know, it's like skipping a rock on water. If that car's got enough velocity, it just kind of skips over that sand. It takes it several times before it digs in and actually starts slowing it down. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's going to damage the car. But what I was going to say is a lot of these tracks that have a short amount of shutdown area, their boundary ends at some point. They put a catch net up there. And there's almost no way a car is ever going to the catch net without extensive damage. Fortunately, here we got a plethora of sand down there, and the car did go up on its side, but hopefully it's just not banged up that bad.
Yeah, again, here at Bradenton, we're using the NMCA safety team under the leadership of Raleigh Miller.
I feel embarrassed the amount of research you have put into this, Ralph, and I can hardly see the notes in front of me without my glasses on.
Well, we're going to let them get Trent's car out of the sand down there and get back to cars out on the racetrack. So we'll be ready to go. We'll take care of some business now, and we'll see you in a sec here at Bradenton.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
Musco Lighting. We make it happen.
One of the main reasons for poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas Fuel Treatment to your vehicle, it cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system. Pump, carburetors, fuel injectors, and valves as you drive. It also improves your vehicle's performance. It's a non-solvent product designed to protect both gasoline and diesel engines. Lucas Fuel Treatment. It works.
We drive tech. We drive the industry. Going beyond the limits and advancing forward. A versatile all-in-one solution. We're here for you every step of the way. And that's why you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
There's a good look at our tower. We're up there on the far right where those 5 windows are. We're sitting up there. To our right, where you see a little bit of shade coming down, that's where the PA announcers are. The floor below us is media, and then the bottom floor, Jack, is just office space here at the racetrack. And then there are grandstands that line both sides of the racetrack here, and then there's a whole bunch of VIP areas that have been brought in and set up for folks to take in this inaugural weekend here with the Pro Superstar Shootout, and everybody's having a great time.
Yeah, pros pulled no punches in making this thing absolutely professional, including some of our other reporters here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have Courtney Enders here with us this weekend. Courtney, what do you have for us?
In the pits at the Pro Superstar Shootout, and I have found my way over to Family Wilkerson pit. We've got a transition of power going on here. Daniel, first things first, your first race running this Skag-powered funny car. Instead of your dad, how are your nerves this weekend for this exciting race?
Oh, I don't have any nerves. I'm just super excited to be here. There's nothing to prove, right? We're out here because this car ran good enough to be out here last year. Things are noisy. We're out here because we deserve to be out here, and I believe that we can carry that on through this year.
I think you can too, and this says a lot about this transition of power here. You've been doing this a long time. You're a legend of the sport, and you trust this boy to go out and continue your legacy.
Well, there's no transition of power. I still have the power, believe me. I could strangle him at any moment. No, everything's really good. We're proud to do this for Skag, to tell you the truth. It's a great transition. A younger driver. It's a good PR move, I think. Believe me, I'm very excited about it, and I think the whole team is also. So we're looking forward to a really great 2024 and happy to be at the Pro Superstar Shootout.
And I know both of these guys are very excited to potentially put their Skag race cars in the winner's circle at the Skag Pro Superstar Shootout.
Jack, that's one of the big changes in the paddock area this weekend. How do you size that one up?
I can't believe Tim let his son in the car. You realize at the last NHRA race of the season, Chad Green, crew chief by Tim Wilkerson's son, Dan, beat Tim in the final. And Tim rewarded him by putting him in his own car. That's pretty cool. Actually, Dan's not new at this. He's driven funny car at several races. He's never done it full time. I think he's going to do quite well. Tim's the one to watch because he was an owner-driver crew chief, and to take the burden of the driver off his shoulders and to let that man focus more on what needs to happen in there, that could be one of the better running cars this whole year.
We were talking about the VIP sections that they've brought in, and again, this was Pro bringing all this stuff in to Bradenton. Here's a look. You can see that right back behind the staging lanes here.
Yeah, if you look at the stanchions they put up, that VIP deck, there's other stuff. Tomorrow night we're going to be on stage doing something that's going to be real cool and brand new to the drag racing format. It's this is very different and very cool to be a part of.
And that's just one of the VIP areas here. There's others around the racetrack in various areas. Give folks an opportunity to really dive into what happens at a major professional drag race. Pro Stock just around the corner. We're inching our way closer to it once we get Trent's car out of the sand at the far end. Stay with us. We're coming right back to Bradenton Motorsports Park. Well, as we've talked about, there's a lot of new here at the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout presented by Johnson's Horse-Powered Garage. And Jack, you're looking at one of the new things right there on the right side of your screen.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if NHRA adapts this. And a lot of these ideas come from some of the independent tracks, but they've converted a Skag tractor. What happens is you put rubber down on the drag strip. Part of the track prep is the track crew will come in, they'll clean the track, they'll scrub the track, they'll wash the track, and then they start to spray it down and drag it with the tire rotators. And the idea is to lay a clean, thin film of rubber on the track. It's the most amount of friction. When you get too thick a buildup of rubber, it starts to peel off the track. It starts to be a detriment to traction. So periodically at the NHRA races, you will see the starting line crew go from the launch pad 30 feet behind the starting line out to 100 feet and scrape down that rubber, keep it tight, better traction. Well, now we've got a little bit more automated piece there that's got a propane burner on it and scraping blades built in. It'll be interesting to see if that takes over from the old hand-powered units.
Dave Connolly getting ready to go, so we are inching our way closer to Pro Stock.
Wow, you know, that guy has become such a great Pro Stock crew chief that you almost forgot what a great Pro Stock driver he was. I raced against Dave Connolly in Super Comp, and guess what? He was a great driver in Super Comp. Really cool to see him back behind the wheel.
So now that we're getting closer to getting into the actual Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout portion of the day here, let's show you a little bit more about what's actually coming on with this, all presented, of course, by Johnson's Horsepower Garage. We have the inaugural, it's an invitation-only race, Jack. Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock teams are what we're going to see competing in our inaugural event. $1.3 million in total prize money, which is massive. 4 qualifying sessions, 1 tonight, 3 tomorrow, will determine the 8 car fields for Top Fuel and Funny Car, 16 car field for Pro Stock. There's a random chip. This is where it really starts to get interesting.
Yes, it does.
Random chip draws will determine the pairings for all rounds of eliminations up to the final round. $250,000 to win in both the Top Fuel and Funny Car categories, and $125,000 to win if you're running in Pro Stock. And oh wait, there's more, because then we've got this Funny Car versus Top Fuel event that we're going to do.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that one later because we're going to have to do a whole lot of explaining there. But key in here, invitation only.
Yes.
Right? They took, I think we got 13 Funny Cars on the grounds. I think we got 12 Top Fuel cars. They invited the cars that they know will consistently go down the track.
And this is based on how you've performed last year.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's literally based on your track record. And you're going to have 4 non-qualifiers in Dragster, 5 in Funny Car.
Right.
We're going to do something with them that's pretty unique on Saturday. But the great thing is you're racing for a ton of money, but they don't automatically seed the field. You got to earn your way in. And then historically, the quickest qualifier would race the slowest qualifier. Well, that may happen here. It may not happen here. Wherever you qualify, you have no control over who your first round opponent will be, or your second round opponent, or your final round opponent. All of those will be based on a chip draw, and we're going to do something pretty cool with that tomorrow night after the last qualifying run.
Right. It's really going to shake things up a little bit, isn't it?
So, you know, normally you'd say, gosh, if you got a 16-car field in Top Fuel and the 15th and 16th qualifiers are independent cars and they didn't make representative runs and they're easy first-round fodder, you say it takes away some of the suspense. Well, there's no first-round fodders. There's no weak sisters here. Everybody that was invited is capable of running quick, so probably doesn't really matter who you match up with. But the cool thing is it's got nothing to do with how you qualify. You just have to qualify to race. Everything after that's going to be random pairings.
It's all going to be based on your performance after that part. And one guy who's looking to take that $125,000 check home is Jed Coughlin, who's standing by with Courtney.
It's all yours, brother. Courtney Enders here at Bradenton Motorsports Park with the Pro Superstar Shootout, and I've got one of the Pro Stock stars of the event, Jed Coughlin Jr. This officially starts your comeback tour. What an honor to be able to do this at what some of the other races are calling the Super Bowl of the year.
It is, without question, and it's an honor to be here. Really happy to, represent SCAG and Elite Motorsports, and this Pro Superstar Shootout is it's pretty badass, to say the least. The efforts that have come together to put this race on as a preseason to the NHRA season's going to be a lot of fun, and we're just getting started.
Pro Stock is predominantly one of the most competitive classes that we see. Everybody loves the pops and booms of Top Fuel and Funny Car, but you guys are so tight, thousands of seconds. Differentiate what goes on there. Your left foot, everything. You are coming back into a field of, sorry to say this, big guy, but a bunch of young bucks. What do you got for them?
Yeah, I'm young at heart still, right? And, I really enjoyed the couple races behind the wheel at the tail end of the 23 season, and that fed me that I could still do this and compete with these guys and gals. So I'm as motivated as ever. I've got as much energy as ever, and feel like I'm as focused as ever. So, see if we can't get out here and do well. I mean, it's a tough field, as you mentioned. It's a tank of piranhas, and I feel like I'm amongst them. So let's get it on.
You already proved it. And guys, do not be mistaken. Jack Hoffman Jr. going to be in the SCAG Power Equipment orange car, not that yellow car he's used to, here at Pro Superstar Shootout.
Yeah, that's going to take a little getting used to, isn't it?
Jag, not in Jag's colors.
Yeah. You can see the full paddock area here. Pro Stock qualifying order, round number 1. Remember, we have 3 rounds, 1 tonight, 3 more sessions tomorrow.
So the run order is based on the points that you accrued and finished last year with. Out of the box, we're going to match up 2 of the greatest Pro Stock drivers of all time, Dave Conley and Jack Coughlin. You say, well, how come they'd be running first? Because they didn't race last year. They had less points than anybody else. They got to go out first. So, but it's interesting to tee off with 2 of the legends of the class. Typically what happens is it's to build suspense. You start off with the cars that finished at the bottom last year, and you finish off with the cars that finished first and second in the championship. But we got 9 pairs, we've got 18 Pro Stock cars, and every one of them is capable of running quick enough, but 2 of them won't.
And then you talk about the legends. Well, certainly at the very end of the night, when it comes to the end of the Pro Stock session, Greg Anderson and Erica Enders, living legends for sure.
Yeah, Greg's got 5 championships. Erica's got 6. Jack Coughlin's got 5. You got 3 drivers here responsible for 16 Pro Stock championships.
It's amazing, right? And a whole bunch of victories too.
Oh,
103 for Greg and 47 for Eric.
Yeah, I'm going through the stat sheet there, and Greg has surpassed everybody, right? The winningest Pro Stock driver of all time. But to see Erica in her relatively short career, 47 national event wins.
All right, as we take a look at the track facts for here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, founded in 1974, averaging 300,000 visitors per year, and literally right next door to Cletus McFarland's Freedom Factory.
1974, you do the math. That's been around about 50 years.
Tell me about it. Haven't we all?
And change.
Yeah. 74 doesn't sound all that long ago, does it, Jack? Well, we're told the Pro Stock is ready to go, and they'll be all set up, strapped in when we come back to Bradenton.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. SCAG Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, SCAG machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local SCAG dealer to discover the SCAG difference for yourself. SCAG, simply the best.
We drive tech. We drive the industry. Going beyond the limits and advancing forward. A versatile all-in-one solution. We're here for you every step of the way. And that's why you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
There is less than 1/100th of an inch of motor oil protecting your car's engine. Friction and heat causes engine oil to experience thermal breakdown, weakening its ability to protect the engine and its parts. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer is specially formulated to resist thermal breakdown, protect vital engine parts, and extend the life of your engine. It also stops smoking, knocking, and oil consumption in worn engines. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer. Keep that engine alive.
Well, it is 5:46 p.m. Eastern Time here in Bradenton, Florida at the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstars Shootout presented by Johnson's Horsepower Garage. And there you see the Pro Stock cars lining up, getting ready to go. So we said 5:45, Jack, and we're about ready to go.
I was told 5:45.
There you go, buddy.
Ready, set, go. Are you ready for more? I'm unstoppable. I feel invincible. Pedal to the ready, set, go. Are you ready for more? I'm unstoppable. I feel invincible. Pedal to the ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. I'm unstoppable. Pedal to the ready, set, go.
All right, here we go. First pair is up for our first session of qualifying. There is Jed Coughlin in those new Skag colors. Try to get used to that. Probably take half the season to be feeling somewhat comfortable with that, right?
So when you ask, who's the best, whatever, well, you can't say who's the best driver in drag racing because there's Pro Stock, there's Funny Car, there's Top Fuel, there's Pro Stock Motorcycle, there's different talents there. Tough to make an argument against Jake Coughlin as one of, if not the best all-around driver in the sport. Dave Conley's also incredibly sharp. And if we're talking about the best driver in Pro Stock, I think we have to wait till the lady in the last pair here, Erica Enders, and she's proven that 6 different times out there. But my point is, you just put one of the greatest drivers of all time, Jake Coughlin, back in a competitive car for the full season. It's going to be really interesting to see how 2024 shapes up.
Dave Conley, there you see him in the left lane in the blue and white machine. Here we go. Oh, Conley getting out of shape, gathers it back up. Straight down the boulevard goes Jag with a 6.552, 211.830. Conley an 8.787, 107.470.
Yeah, and you watch Conley's car, it carries the left front tire. When it picks up the right front tire, he has no steering. That car's driving itself over out of the groove. He's now in the looser part of the drag strip. Very wise decision. Close your right foot, press down with your left foot. Come back, you got 3 more shots to do it.
3 more shots tomorrow.
It is true, unprecedented.
David Quadra right there. In the right lane.
You get to see this more as the weekend unfolds. As they do the burnout, their crew guys are back on the starting line, and it looks like they're trying to scrape something off the bottom of their shoes. Well, when these Pro Stock cars leave, because they have such a low first gear ratio, a 5-speed transmission in them, and they leave at such a high RPM, they rip the rubber right off the starting line with the bald spot. So the track crew will put powdered rosin down there. It's kind of orangish in color. They call it gold dust. They then try to get the driver to burn out across that rosin, and it burns some of the rubber and covers up that bald spot. And oftentimes you'll see them move the cars over 6 or 8 inches one way or the other. They're trying to get in the best spot on the starting line for the launch.
It's going to be Eric Latino in the other lane, opposite Quadra. Talked with David earlier. He tested here in his Pro Mod, but he's never run a Pro Stock car here. This was his dad's car, and they've been dealing with a misfire in the engine of this machine throughout the course of the week, so we'll see if they get it dialed in here now.
I know how to fix that. It's either ignition or fuel related. So you know what they do? They change everything in the car to ignition or fuel related.
Quadra's car seems to be performing just fine now with a 658 with a 5, 209.620. Quadra goes to the number 2 spot. 6.627, 209 plus for Latino.
Yeah, a little bit of driving around out there. And remember, these drivers are going to launch the car with the throttle all the way to the floor. When the Christmas tree activates, they're going to let their foot off the clutch, and then they've got to shift the thing 4 times. They've got a shift light on the dash right in front of them. And let me tell you, you think it makes a difference. If you miss your shift points and it revs too high, you hit the rev limiter. The car basically hits a brick when you do that. If you shift too low, it's not enough horsepower. It's basically like dumping a parachute out there. You've got to hit the shift points right. You've got to do that 4 times. And all the while, you've got to be looking down track and keeping that car in the best part of the lane. We call it the groove. As you look down track right now, it's the dull part of the lane. The lane is sprayed with a traction compound, call it glue. It makes everything shiny. That's sticky and it'll rip your tennis shoe off if you walk out there. But what really gives it traction is it binds to rubber from the tire rotating machines from the track crew and from the number of cars that competitively go down the drag strip. So if you, the close-up shot there, you see some really rough spots of the racetrack outside of the groove. That is not where the car wants to be. It's not good contact area. It's not good traction. It's not going to give you the best acceleration. So the burnout's important. Where they put the car on the starting line is important. Groove management. That driver needs to keep it where it needs to be.
Per McGahe's up in this one.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to bet on one of the McGahe's on this one.
Pretty smart call on your part, Jack.
They know
nothing gets past you.
They know how to make horsepower, and father and son both know how to drive. And you know, Chris, it seemed to me that his passion has always been the horsepower. You know, and then Mason comes along and God,
well, Mason struggles off the line. Chris, straight down the track, looks solid. Right to the number 2 spot with a 6.557, 209.980. So a great pass for Chris McGahe.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what happened to Mason. It didn't sound like it revved up like it smoked the tires there. It sounded odd the moment he took his foot off the clutch. And the tell on that is the car shut off on the racetrack. So I don't know if they had some sort of mechanical malfunction. So they're going to walk out there and...
well, and Mason apparently getting ready for pitchers and catchers, which are reporting beginning of the week. He's got his Yankees logo on the back of the car.
And he's getting us quite a bit of extra airtime right now parked out there on the drag strip. You know, it's a bummer to lose the data from run 1. 3 more shots tomorrow.
That's it. We'll be right back when the next set of cars is ready to go here at Bradenton. Stay with us.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
Toyota Racing is looking for iron stomachs that can stand the pressure. This season, we want you. Join us at Toyota Racing.
People said we were crazy. And so we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to do that by earning our customers' business every day in the market, punching through bullshit barriers that have been set up over the last, literally since Prohibition almost 100 years ago. We're going to break them down, and I think we've got the team to do it. And
Introducing the new 2024 Ford F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Back here at the Skag Pro Superstar Shootout, presented by Johnson's Horse-Powered Garage. Next pair of cars getting ready to go here as this opening session of qualifying at Bradenton Motorsports Park continues. Pro Stock up first. And then we'll close out the night with Top Fuel and Funny Car. There's Fernando Quadra Jr., the Elite Motorsports entry. 28-year-old driver.
$20 if you could name his dad. Great family. We're talking about the success story there, hard work, dedication, right?
Yeah.
What they've done with the boots, absolutely amazing. Thank goodness they like drag racing, huh?
For sure.
They're getting good at it.
Jerry Tucker, Lindsay, Oklahoma driver, 48-year-old, one of those elite motorsports machines.
Yeah, Pro Stock has changed a bunch, right? It started out in 1970 as a class and manually shifted 4 speeds. You had Dodge Hemis, you had Chevy small blocks. And it really got crazy in the 70s. And we talk about that a little bit over the next few days. And then it's kind of settled into its current format for the last couple of years.
Tucker and Quadra, here we go. What kind of numbers can they put down? Down through the lights. First for Jerry Tucker with a 6.515, 211.660. Strong run for the Elite Motorsports. 6th for Quadra.
Yes. You look at that yellow car there, a lot of tire spin and shaking. He actually pedaled. I'm surprised he decided to leg it to the finish line because that's clearly not going to be a representative ET, but they might have wanted some data. 6:51.5. That elite car in the left lane got all of it out there. That was impressive.
It got everything. And then some. And speaking of elite, we still have Erica to go.
Yeah, so Pro Stock cars are very much dependent on air to run quick. The barometric pressure, the temperature, the humidity or grains of moisture in the air. Because they're naturally aspirated, they need all the help they can to achieve that full 1,450 horsepower that they can make on the dyno. The nitro cars are very, very, very dependent on track conditions. Because they have a supercharger, because they have nitromethane for fuel, they can typically make the amount of power no matter where they are. They need a racetrack that they can apply it to. So we're getting near sundown right now. It's cooling off slightly, but remember, we're in South Florida. That humidity stays pretty high. It's not great air if you're an engine. We're near sea level, so it's pretty decent air. This track looks good, but it's had the sun on it all day. That tends to loosen it up and take away some available grip. It's starting to be in the shadows longer. It's cooling down. It will tighten the track up. It will make it a better track. So the Pro Stock cars that run later in the session, in theory, can hit the starting line a little bit harder, should have a better chance of running a quicker ET.
Camry Caruso. Through the lights, and to second goes Christian Quadra with a 6.533, 211.490, and to fifth goes Camry with a 6.573, 209.820 mile-an-hour effort.
Yeah, not much to critique. There's 2 pretty good side-by-side runs. If all things being equal, assuming the driver drives the car to the finish line, the speed on the board is pretty indicative of mile an hour. All these cars, I told you, Pro Stock's kind of settled into a format. You can run any manufacturer's power plant in any body combination. Well, mostly all Camaros out there. So aerodynamically, they're all pretty similar right now.
Yeah.
So right now, a good speed in Pro Stock, and again, keep in mind, it's highly dependent on weather conditions. But a good speed would be 213 miles an hour. I don't know if we'll see the weather conditions this weekend that would permit that. So you look at those 2 runs, it's 211 miles an hour to 209 miles an hour. Sometimes it's a case of one car gets a better launch for more momentum, for more speed, and sometimes just a case of more horsepower.
Bo Butner right there. The Jim Butner Auto Group entry. Driver out of Indiana, 49-year-old behind the wheel. One of the elite motorsports machines.
How do you suppose his town got named? Floyd's Knob. Do you think Floyd owned a hardware store?
Derek Kramer to get biofuel entry. Driver out of Colorado. Anything you want to throw out at this one?
No, but if it was from Broken Arrow, I could give you a good analogy
You'd have a
on
shot.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
the Lost
Look
in
at
the Hills.
sprint car
or
racers
something.
out of Broken Arrow.
There is, yes.
Well, we hope you're enjoying our coverage here of the Skag Pro Superstars Shootout, the inaugural event. We know a lot of you folks tuned in here on Flow. Obviously, you're diehard race fans, but maybe it's your first exposure to drag racing. Traditionally, a sprint car, midget, dirt late model fan, whatever it might be. Maybe you're checking out drag racing for the first time, so we welcome you.
Scientists of drag racing.
Butner goes to number 2 with a 6.519, 211.690 effort. Derek Kramer goes to 9th, 6.690, 207.590 as he blasted through the traps.
Yeah, and again, the 207 cars down on horsepower. Now, is it down on horsepower? These are electronic fuel injection, as opposed to the Nitro cars that are mechanical fuel injection. But unlike a manufactured automobile that has closed loop fuel injection where it's got sensors in the tailpipe and it's talking to itself all the time and updating the air fuel ratio continuously because you're modulating the throttle. These things...
Troy Coughlin right there. Traditional Jegs colors.
The Pro Stock cars have to be completely manually programmed for every RPM. And the only reason you would do it at any position other than wide open throttle is for idling and the burnout. But so they're continually playing with this at every racetrack they go to. Going in and spending hours on the laptop. So when you see a car down in speed, they might have missed it on the programming for the injectors. They could go back and spend some time on their laptop.
The happiest thing I'm seeing go down is the sun right now. That's what I'm happiest about.
I don't have
out
to
of our
squint
eyes
anymore.
finally.
Yes.
Yeah. Boy, it was coming right over the side of the grandstands and straight into our booth here.
I'm glad it wasn't just me that felt that way.
No, sir, don't worry about it.
Got enough
Singeing my
wrinkles
forehead
already.
right through the glass.
Yes.
Dallas Glen ready to go. There's the sun setting to the west over the Gulf of Mexico.
Dallas with a complete standout year last year. One of the more dominant Pro Stock cars out there.
Yeah, you can see the top part of our tower. We're on the right side there. Just still a little sunshine off of the roof there of the tower. Coughlin and Glenn getting ready to go. First pair down with the sun finally behind the grandstands. See if that starts changing things here, Jack.
Pre-staged.
Some RPMs.
Just going to inch in and light that stage light.
Oh.
Just blew the tires off.
Yeah, that's it for Troy. Dallas, solid run right to number 1 on the board with a blistering 6.507, 210.970. 6.507, 210.970, the new mark for everybody to shoot for.
And Ralph, right now we don't have access. Typically we'd have a timing screen and we could see all the incremental numbers, 60 foot, 330 as they go down track. But that wasn't the best speed, but that was the best ET. Remember, speed is only clocked over the last 66 feet of the racetrack. It has a lot to do with aerodynamics and ultimate horsepower. ET is clocked from the time the car leaves the start line beam. And typically when you see a car that runs a really good ET relative to their speed, they manage the first part of the racetrack better. The launch, the 1-2 gear change, the 2-3 gear change. And so right now that puts Dallas up on the #1 spot.
Dallas got all of the 510 cubic inches out of that one.
500. He better not have 510.
Oh, 500 cubic inches. Yeah,
Gonna,
500. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Or maybe he did have his 510
he might have.
cubic
You
inches.
never know. No, we don't want to get him in any trouble.
God forbid. Yeah, so today's Pro Stock has a lot of rental engines out there leasing. You know, it used to be everybody built their own engines. Then you'd have 3 cars provided by one engine manufacturer or engine building shop. Now you got Elite Engines has got X number of cars out there. KB Motorsports has got X number of cars out there. And a lot of these teams, if they can find the money, can get on an engine leasing program and not have to worry about the research and development.
Here's Matt Hartford right here. And then you already saw Aaron Stanfield on the other side in the Johnson's Horsepower Garage black entry, the other lane.
Aaron's father, Greg, absolute standout sportsman racer, multiple-time super stock world champion.
This should be our 8th pair. The 9th pair coming up after this will be Greg and Erica.
The marquee matchup.
Yes, and in talk, you were hinting about the Arrow. I was talking with Greg about that earlier today, and he said, you know what? So we haven't been in a wind tunnel about 5 to 6 years, he said, because you're just not going to be able to get anything out of it based on how much they rule about the bodies over the top of the car and underneath as well.
Everything's really figured out on the racetrack, and that's hundreds and hundreds of runs, and nobody does more than KB Racing.
Stanfield putting together a good run here. He goes to number 4 with a 6.523, 211.490. Hartford will slot into 7th, 6.555.
Stop everything. Tucci, please. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I called Eric Andrews 2 weeks ago.
Nice run.
Yeah, 2 good side-by-siders. And the thing is once they make this run, they've got an onboard data recorder. They're going to go back, they're going to download that, they're going to look at it. There's a lot less knobs to turn if you're a pro stock crew chief relative to a nitro crew chief. Now, the pro stock crew chiefs can change individual transmission ratios. They can change rear end ratio. They can change weights on the clutch. They can change launch RPM. They can change shock settings. There's a lot of things that they can do to try to dial into the racetrack. But remember, the racetrack and the weather are moving targets. You have to continually monitor what is the weather doing, how does that affect my tune-up, what is the racetrack doing, how does that affect the way I'm allowed to lay the power down.
So one of the other things I was talking to Greg Anderson about, you see Greg on the far right side of the screen there in that blue, white, and red HendrickCars.com backed entry, the 103-time national event winner.
Mind-blowing.
Crazy, right? Greg said, you know, I've got 7 cars running through the KB Titan program. He said 6 of those are all basically rental type situations. He said it takes away, he goes, I'm working all the time, but I'm not working on my stuff.
The reason Bob Glidden dominated, the reason Warren Johnson dominated, they outworked everybody. It's
Totally.
back when somebody that was great at 15 different things and kept all those things to himself found a way to dominate. Well,
and what you're looking for, Jack, is
everything.
little things.
Everything.
Yeah, everywhere on the
things.
car, but little tiny things in as many places as you can.
You'd be lucky to find 1% somewhere. You're looking for a 1/10%
Right.
in 30 different
That would be
places.
a huge gain.
Yes. So Greg Anderson really kind of ushered in the era, and Mike Edwards, where you said, okay, now we need an engine building department. Now we need a clutch specialist. Now we need a chassis specialist. And to your point, what Greg is saying is, I can't wear all those hats. There's just not enough time. If I'm managing this program to keep the class successful and alive, I'm not spending that time on my car to differentiate it from the rest of the pack.
There is Greg, the driver out of Charlotte, North Carolina. 5-time NHRA Pro Stock champion, lining up alongside a 6-time NHRA Pro Stock champion, and Erica Enders. And there she sits, ready to go. And that's one of the reasons why, because of all that, why Greg was so keyed up about winning here this weekend. Because if I can get that $125,000, it's going right into our program.
Right back into the car.
And we're going to find another small percentage somewhere.
So you're going to know 30 feet out if these are going to be good runs. On a good pro stock launch, they don't pitch rotate a bunch. Greg's look good.
She spun it up.
Not.
And Greg goes right now. Can he get the number 1?
Wow.
No, 9th. Wow. 6.585, 210.010. Well, he got down the track better than she did, but he's sure not going to be happy with that performance.
Yeah, and tomorrow when we've got access to the split times, to the incrementals, you'll be able to see where he lost it relative to a Dallas Glenn's run. And my guess is he probably gave up 100.5 and 60 foot, and you'll never get that back. On a nitro car with 11,000 horsepower, mediocre 60 foot can still translate into pretty good ET. In a pro stock car, you are making that ET from 1 foot on. Whatever you gave up early actually gets multiplied the further down track the car goes.
All right, so now they're going to get the track here at Bradenton ready, because we're going to raise the power a little bit to 11,000 horsepower. We get the Nitro cars out here. Funny Car and Top Fuel up next as we work through this opening session of qualifying. As we wait for the results page to come up here, as you take a look at what Pro Stock delivered, and another thing I got in talking with Greg is everybody in Pro Stock would come down here and test. So the Pro Stock guys, actually out of the top 3 categories we have here as we look at our results page, Dallas Glenn at the top of the board with that 6.507, 210.970 effort. Jerry Tucker right there with a 6.515, 211.660. Then Bo Butner, Aaron Stanfield, Christian Quadra rounding out the top 5 and on down through the list. You see Greg Anderson sitting there in 9th, the 6.565, 210.010. Okay. Top Fuel, Funny Car coming up next. We'll get back into the discussion about Pro Stock having had plenty of laps here in the past when we come back to the Bradenton Motorsports Park. About 30 minutes away from where we are sitting here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, you can see the sun setting down on the beach over here in Bradenton, Florida, Sarasota, nearby. Great part of Florida on the Gulf Coast, and there is a true living legend right there.
92 years young, Big Daddy Don Garlitz. Hey, you know you got an event when Don Garlitz and Darrell Gwynn are both there.
Yep. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I went over to talk to Don, and he doesn't hear very well right now. He's got a little app on his phone. The fans come to get a book signed. They're talking to him. He's reading the print on the thing. But his mind is still unbelievably sharp.
One of
the
my
greatest memories of any human being I have ever met.
One of my great memories of the time that I got to call NHRA drag racing on TNN back in the day. Don Garlitz was my Jack Beckman back then and worked with me.
I just like that you use my name in the same sentence.
As Don Garlitz, right? Yes. Yeah. I mean, what a thrill that was. Okay, so Funny Car is going to be up next. Here's what we're looking at. $250,000 to win. 8 cars will qualify for the field. Of course, it's 1,000 foot for the race distance. 4 qualifying sessions. This is session number 1. Again, the next 3 will be tomorrow. Traditional NHRA rules and racing procedures will be the way we'll run the event.
The Top Fuel cars had some rules changes in the offseason we can talk about. Funny Cars is really nothing worth mentioning that's going to affect them. But I think one of the stories here that's noteworthy is 3 qualifying sections tomorrow. Traditionally, pre-COVID, you do 2 on Friday, you do 2 on Saturday, and you had time to ramp up. And now there's some races where they only do 3, but you never do 3 in one day.
Let's introduce you to the 4th member of our broadcast crew with one of our Nitro competitors. Here's Jamie Howe.
For the first time since kicking off his Top Fuel career in 1998, Doug Coletta enters an event weekend as the reigning Top Fuel world champion. You've now had the offseason, Doug, to think about this, let it all sink in a little bit. What are you looking forward to now moving forward?
Yeah, just keeping the consistency that we had, and but yeah, huge relief for me to get that championship last year, and we're trying to stay ahead of everybody. That'll be our goal this year, and but no, just super proud of all my guys, and just a huge relief. So Connie was out there with us, and it was just a great family celebration for getting it done.
You mentioned that word, family. You've never raced here at Bradenton Motorsports Park, but you do have family ties here. Scott Coletta, your cousin, this was his home track. To see it now and to see the event and everything that's happening, how exciting is it to kick off the year here?
Yeah, no, they've done a great job with setting everything up here, and it's my first time, but my grandparents would come here in the winter time. A lot of times, we'd come down, spend a little bit of time visiting in Bradenton or whatever, growing up, and yeah, my cousin Scott lived here, and his family still lives here. So, so it's good to, sort of be close to, some of our family and the history.
Lots of good things to come this weekend, especially with that number 1 on the side of the car.
And Connie Coletta is here, by the way.
Connie Coletta,
camping out in the paddock.
Don Garlitz, Daryl Gwynn, and Daryl's dad, Jerry Gwynn, the 1969 Super Eliminator World Champion. There's some hitters walking around the pits.
And Jack Beckman, all here in Bradenton. We'll be right back. Funny Cars coming up.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
Introducing the new 2024 Ford F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
You're watching a first-of-its-kind shootout featuring the biggest stars in Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, and more. The inaugural Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout presented by Johnson's Horse-Powered Garage, live from Bradenton.
People said we were crazy. And so we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to do that by earning our customers' business every day in the market, breaking, punching through bullshit barriers that have been set up over the last little.
Back here at Bradenton, the sun is setting to the west. Lights are on around the racetrack. And they worked hard with the folks at Musco. We were talking with Chad Head earlier today, and they came out here, and the folks at Musco worked with them, got all the light meters out here, and they really worked hard at getting the lighting right. And Jack, you and I really love this new machine right here we're looking at.
Yeah, I think that might be a game changer, an evolution in track preparation. The starting line is where you're hammering the racetrack with the most amount of torque. If you look closely there, you see a lot of bald spots. And one of the potential issues here at Bradenton is contact area on the starting line. That is concrete. They surfaced it, and if you can imagine, when you grind down on it, you start to see the top of all the aggregate, all the stones in there. Well, that's not smooth like glass. That means the tire's not touching that part of it. That's Kurt Johnson manning the scraper there, and he's the one that owns the 2 tire rotators coming here, but they're getting better and better at track practice. So right now,
Ralph and Jack, how cool is this? The vibe down here in the pits and the staging lanes, it's been electric all day. It's the first time of 2024 that all of these teams have been able to come out together. It's like the first day of school. And, you know, of course, with that, there's always some changes, some new faces and new places. Starting off in Top Fuel after winning that championship together, Alan Johnson and Brian Houston, they have happily parted ways when it comes to sharing a lounge. Brian Houston now moves over to Sean Langdon's Top Fuel dragster to take over that program for the season. Leah Pruitt, this is going to be the last weekend that we see her behind the wheel as she's going to make that step out to start a family. So, of course, Tony Stewart will take over for the rest of the season. Some other changes as well, but moving on to Funny Car, a lot of shuffling really happening. Cruz Pedregon, he's got a new team of crew chiefs up in his lounge, but one of the biggest changes that we see in Funny Car is Austin Prock now taking over the Funny Car for Robert Height. With that, he now gets to work with his dad, Jimmy Prock, as his tuner. His brother, Thomas Prock, is going to assist out with that effort. So a lot of family ties for him. It's a huge moment. They came out here and started testing on Tuesday. They were able to make 9 different passes. I talked to Austin after the 8th one this morning. He said, I have never been happier to run a 412 in my career, but it was the first time since getting in this car that he's been able to make it past the Christmas tree. They were able to finally put something together in that 9th round. He said, we're now ready for qualifying. He feels comfortable in the car. Bring on 2024 because there's a lot of good things to happen.
Well, that's a lot to think about, Jamie. Thanks for updating us on all that. Jack, let's get back to that point of what we were talking about. The knowledge of the Pro Stock guys compared to the depth of knowledge for the Nitro category guys. What did you see out of the racetrack? Is it going to be easier for those guys with the Nitro to dial in or not?
I've spoken with Lanny McGlizzy. I've talked to a lot of the crew chiefs out here. It's 767 feet of concrete here, and then you have the transition to asphalt. That transition's pretty smooth. If it's a dip or it's a step, it can unbalance these cars. And concrete is a lot more expensive than asphalt. Asphalt is not as good a traction typically as concrete. The asphalt here is phenomenal. From 767 feet on, that's good grip. And the cars have more downforce there, and they're not hitting it with as much power. That shouldn't be an issue. The middle of the racetrack's pretty decent. The left lane is probably slightly smoother. The right lane's got some bumps from 200 to 400 foot, which could be an issue if it gets hot. But the starting line is the potential issue for the Nitro cars here. We're going to see they're filling in those rubber patches right now. It's getting cool out. That should help it. In the heat of the day, it's going to be really interesting to see what the starting line does with these Nitro cars.
Craig told me 80 degrees, between 75 and 80. That's the line here at Bradenton. Most of the time they would come and test here. They'd see 60 to 70 degree temperatures. Track runs beautifully. Get to 75 to 80, it falls off dramatically. Could be really interesting because there's not a lot of data on that, which is about what we're going to see temperature-wise come Saturday. And we are back here at the Skag Pros Superstar Shootout for 2024, all presented by Johnson's Horse-Powered Garage. Jack, it would be really to think of an event in drag racing that has been as highly anticipated as this one.
If you ask me to give you any sort of analog to this, I would say the 72 Pro Challenge at Tulsa. It's where Garlett spearheaded it. Tom McEwen had a lot to do with it, and ironically, those two won their class. They were pushing hard against NHRA to raise the purses. And nobody was given, so they said, we'll just schedule a race opposite your biggest race of the year on Labor Day weekend. And it paid extraordinary money to go there, and it got its point across. NHRA raised their purses the year after that. But this one's for an entirely different purpose.
Yeah, this, for those of you that maybe are new to drag racing and wondering why this is going on and all that, we were talking with Chad Head earlier, and I said to him, I said, what would it take for you to say that this has been a successful weekend? As you're looking at the qualifying order, we'll see Bob Tasca, Matt Hagan in that last pair this evening. It's not about the purse, just about purse money. It's not about how many people come to the races over the course of this week. It's not about how many people are watching on floor. There's a lot of things that they want to try and just put it out there, see if it works. Not everything is going to work, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to try some things and say, you know what, that's not a direction we need to continue down. Let's forget about it. Check that box, move that out of the way. Let's think of something else.
For instance, I wouldn't want to see a random chip draw at an NHRA race. No, because you should earn your qualifying position, which they will here, but that should theoretically mean something. I think it's awesome that we're going to do a chip draw here, because remember, we're not racing for points. We're not racing for a championship. We're racing for a lot of money, and we're racing because this is a cool event that's just doing something different. We'll see what works fantastic and maybe what we tune up if there's going to be one of these next year.
And it might be just what we saw down there on the track when it comes to our little new device down there to heat up the track and work on
That might be the future of.
That might be the biggest thing that comes out of this weekend. That and some more great reporting from Jamie Howe. Jamie?
Ralph, I was just looking at those funny car run orders, looking at Daniel Wilkerson being on a single in this very first matchup, we'll call it, that we're going to see take to the racetrack. I talked to Daniel just a little bit earlier. I went up in his lounge, and he was actually on FaceTime talking to his family. You know, it's the first race of the year, and not only do the drivers and the crews and everybody have to get comfortable with their new cars and the new setups, but everybody's got to get comfortable with being back on the road, and this is part of the process. Jack, I know you experienced it for years. You would travel, your kids were back at home, and watching them grow up on technology now, but Daniel was so thankful for the opportunity that his family continues to give him to be able to get behind the wheel of the car and be able to live out these dreams as he watched his dad do it the entire time that he was growing up, and now being able to take that to the next generation. It's just a really neat process to get to see unfold. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, you don't have to love travel to be a full-time racer, but if you hate travel,
you're in trouble.
Don't be a full-time racer.
No, or broadcaster, I can tell you that too. Anybody that has anything to do with the sport, right? If you're going week to week.
No, it's a traveling circus, and you're along for the ride. I loved I can't say I loved every minute of it. I tolerated the travel because I loved what I did.
Similar circuses, just different clowns, right?
Why were you staring at me when you said that, Ralph?
Sometimes you just fit the image there, Jack.
If the shoe fits,
If that big old floppy shoe fits you, Jack, then you're the guy. All right. Our producer, Eric Swearingen, is telling me I'm going to deliver a funny car here momentarily. So momentarily means we're going to break one more time. Stay with us. I promise you they're coming.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Musco Lighting. We make it happen.
Folks at Musco Lighting did the lighting here at Bradenton to help get everything lit up so that we can run at night here. And we could use them in our booth right now, Jack, because whatever light you got on your cell phone is about all we have right now up here.
You got the window without the tint. I can hardly see the racetrack from here, but it's actually extremely well lit out there. You know, Chad Head and the crew that came out here and did this survey did a wonderful job of figuring out what they needed in two huge portable light facilities. So you were talking about, Greg Anderson talking about the optimal temperature for running. That's ambient temperature.
Right.
Track temperature is an entirely different animal. And in the heat of the day with no cloud cover, it can be 40 plus degrees above ambient. So if you get a 95 degree day in the summertime where the sun is right over the racetrack, it's not unheard of to have a track temperature as high as 150 degrees. And let me tell you, that is goo out there.
Oh, yeah.
That rubber on the racetrack isn't as rubbery as you'd like it to be. As it cools down out here, as the sunlight is off the track, that track temperature begins to get closer to ambient temperature. Can it get too cold on the racetrack? Yes. What's the minimum temperature you can run on? Yes. Maple Grove 10 years ago, I thought there's no way a car is getting down the track. We went out there and set the national record. It just depends. But data sets, we've got a lot of good data for racetracks between 75 and 140 degrees. Much hotter than that, we don't really have a lot of good data. Much cooler than that, don't really have a lot of good data. Doesn't mean you can't run on that, it just means we don't quite know what setup would work on that. So as our broadcast rolls along around...
Here's your weather right now, Jack. 69 degrees, 8 mile an hour.
It is as if they were reading our minds up here, isn't it?
78.9 degrees is the track temperature reading. They're all getting down there with their guns.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised that track temperature is only 10 degrees off of ambient temperature. It cooled down pretty quick out there. Don't know if that had something to do with the humidity, but 78.9 is, oh my God, that is a guerrilla racetrack. That means apples to apples with the track prep. This thing ought to be, I don't want to say sticky, because let's not confuse sticky with the amount of traction that's available. It means it has the ability to give these crew chiefs a racetrack where they can start throwing a whole lot more power at it. Now, in a Pro Stock car, again, there's not much they can do on it. They can up the clutch weights slightly. They can up the launch RPM slightly. On the Nitro cars, there is a plethora of adjustments. So you got 18 levers on the clutch. 6 of them, they call them the primaries, are what the car launches on. You can give it more of that. There's little studs on those that they put nuts on, and they weigh those by the gram. And if you went down the staging lanes right now, you might see the clutch covers off a lot of these cars. Bolting little nuts on the thing to add a little bit more plate load. They can give a little more timing early in the run. They can adjust the wheelie bar height and the tire pressure to give the thing a little bit more oomph off the starting line. Remember, it's a momentum thing, right? Now, when you have 11,000 horsepower, the first foot's not nearly as important as the next 999. In a Pro Stock car, that first foot's critical. But everything that you get early translates into a quicker run down track.
Earlier today, Eric Anders filed this report for us.
Courtney Enders here in the pits with Camry Caruso, a Pro Stock contestant at the Pro Superstar Shootout. Now, Camry, you're not a rookie anymore. We can't play that card with you. You had much success last year in the Pro Stock Series, but this is a different deal. This is big money, big bragging rights. Does it feel different for you mentally?
It's way different. It's a whole different mindset, vibe. Everything's way different than NHRA Pro Stock. I'm sure everybody feels the same, but to know that we get to race for $125,000, that can change some people's seasons. That changes how much R&D you can do sometimes, how much you can do outside of the box, and to know that we have a chance and we're all here as a team is just really awesome.
One of the things that I'm looking forward to as a spectator of this event is tomorrow, 3 round-robin qualifiers. You've never done anything like that in this Pro Stock car.
We haven't, and that's, I tell everybody, I hate that we like won once sometimes and then sit around all day, run twice, and then we're sitting around. Like, I'm excited for it to be faster pace, more exciting. I think that everybody's done an amazing job. Everything looks so amazing here. It's so cool. And to be able to run 3 times tomorrow, morning, afternoon, night, it gives us something new to look forward to, and I think this is going to be a big deal.
It's going to be a big deal for no matter who takes home that big stack of cash. Will it be Camry Caruso? Check it out the rest of the weekend on FloRacing.
That it is Courtney Enders. I said Erica. I meant Courtney.
Is it me, or is Courtney just fantastic behind the microphone there?
She's pretty darn good.
Wow, very impressive.
As is Miss Howell, who does a great job as well. We got a strong team here.
Well, there's those 2 and you. Then the 3 of you are stuck with me.
Happily, Jack, happily. It's a look down on, don't adjust your TV screen. Those are the true colors around the VIP section. They got a lot of unique lighting set up around here to kind of give an aura at night to the venue.
I thought maybe I had something with my cheeseburger, a bad mushroom or something for a second. Now I see what we're looking at. And this drone footage is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, this is another example of technology that comes in and it's giving us the ability. You used to have a blimp or a helicopter come to the races to get overhead shots. And I always thought that blimp cam just took us to an entirely new level. The slow-mo cams are awesome. But this drone footage is going to give people the ability moving forward to get affordable, previously unobtainable footage.
Well, the drone can get you in a lot more places quicker and closer from above than a blimp or a plane can, right?
Apparently cheaper than a blimp too, Ralph.
Yeah.
Damn it, I was going to go into the blimp rental business. Apparently that's out now.
I'll tell you what, if you can get your drone pilot's license, you can write your own ticket these days. So, Jack, one of the things that I saw, our friends at Drag Illustrated, who are a huge part of putting this event on, they're actually helping to coordinate this event, put it on with the folks at Pro, got this quote from Matt Hagan, and it really said a lot to me about where this event is at. There are no easy draws, and you want a heavy hitter every time. If there's anyone you're scared to race against, you have no business being out here at Bradenton for this Superstar Shootout. And that, to me, from a guy at Matt Hagan's level, reigning champ, that tells you everything you need to know about what the competition is like.
Yeah, I sure as heck don't want to arm wrestle them, right?
No.
But when you get your helmet on, you get strapped in, you got to think to yourself, we're going to whoop butt on that car in the other lane because we're the better car. You have to go up there with that mentality.
Yeah. And if you're nervous or you're scared, you're intimidated, you don't belong here in Bradenton this weekend. And guess what?
Speaking of nervous, scared, and intimidated,
funny car, ready to go.
So, single run here. And again, this opening qualifying format, the run order is based on the driver's points from last year. The least amount of points will run early in the session. The world champion will run last in the session. So Dan Wilkerson, by virtue of the fact he didn't race last year, is going to come out first. But very much like the first pair in Pro Stock, Dave Connolly and Jake Coughlin, we're really getting a driver with experience in a fantastic race car here. So don't be surprised if this car lays down a top half run right off the get-go. Richard Hartman there doing an idle adjustment. He's looking at, I'd call it a dash, but it's a race pack digital display that sits up by the fuel tank there. And once he gets done doing that, they will take that off the car. Most of the dragsters, it sits in the traditional dash location and will ride down the run in the car. The funny cars, they take them off because that's a multi-$1,000 part and they don't want to burn the thing up. taking the last little air bleed off. That raises the idle RPM up slightly and letting his driver know it is okay to roll in and stage.
It's in your control at this point. Here we go with Daniel Wilkerson. Staying in it all the way down through the lights. And he puts up a 3.950, 323.500. That's a pretty good opening run.
Hey, I'm going to try to get him to do a regular speed replay of that run. I want you guys to listen to the RPMs on that run. It's going to sound like he shifts twice. The first one comes about 50 feet into the run, and that's when the crew chiefs are pulling a bunch of timing out of the car. See if we can pick it up on the audio.
Here it comes.
So and the second one is when the clutch goes 1-to-1 and kind of tugs the motor down there out in the middle. You almost never hear that on a side-by-side run because the cars aren't doing the same sound simultaneously. Right. When you get a single run, the thing I really enjoy doing about that is I just kind of tune into my hearing a little bit better. And for me, because I knew what to expect, it was fairly dramatic. A lot of things taking place in just under 4 seconds out there, and we'll talk about those as the runs and the weekend unfold. Pretty cool way to lead off Nitro. You know, I miss flames at night out of Nitro cars.
Don't we all?
The tough thing about being up here in the tower, I can't smell that Nitro.
No. No. We need a little. Here's your flames, Jack. On order.
You look at that, that's 1.5 gallons per second of fuel going in there. To put that in perspective, and you see those sparks shooting out at the other end there, sometimes it's blowing the electrodes off the spark plugs. A lot of times it's just welding slag from the headers that's getting vibrated, heated up, and it finally gets hot enough, it lets go and just shoots out there. Nothing to be concerned about. But this thing is burning more fuel at full load than a 747 cruising at 550 miles an hour. Pretty dramatic. All right,
pretty awesome.
Our first official pairing.
Yes, here we go.
Now, I am noticing a big lag here on that second car firing up. And it could be one of two things. The crew chiefs will often discuss with each other, how long is your ritual? From the time you start the car up to the time you pre-stage. If yours is 2 minutes and mine's 1:40, I'm going to wait. And that is exactly what happened there. So if my routine is 20 seconds shorter than yours, and I start at the same time as you,
I'm going to clock it.
It means when I pull up towards the Christmas tree, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs for 20 extra seconds and you threw me out of my routine. What they'll do, and Jimmy Prock has one of the shorter routines out there, they'll wait that amount of time before they start their car.
And we're getting a look at Austin Prock in the far lane. We'll get to him in a second.
And you say, Dave Richards, there's a name I haven't heard a lot about. They haven't run much. You said this was an invitation only, Jack. Yes. But they know with Dave, he's now got the commitment and the funding to run a full schedule. He's got the tuning advice from one of the best in the business. They know this is going to be one of those good cars for the year.
There's Austin Prock over here in what normally is Robert Height's car. Robert, we're all hoping to see you back here soon. You see the 374, the number Austin Prock is running.
That is his competition number.
That's his competition number, Tom Prock. Well, there you see it on the custom body funny car. And yeah, that's me in the custom body t-shirt and the Jets jacket, standing next to my Uncle Raymond, who was good buddies with the Cashinova brothers that ran the custom body car. And here we go. Welcome to Funny Car Competition, Austin Prock. Nice run. 3.851, 331.770. Goes to number one. Dave Richards coasts through the lights. And I think Austin Prock, who couldn't get past the Christmas tree on his first 7 passes this week, Jack, dialed it in pretty good there.
Right to the top.
All right, Jamie is with Dan Wilkerson. We lost Jamie there, unfortunately.
And that that'll happen. A little bit of a glitch there. Dan Wilkerson seemed like he was excited.
Tire shake through the microphone.
Yeah, remember, not only is he a driver now, he's a pretty good crew chief, but on that last pairing, Austin Prock, Jimmy's obviously figured it out. They go down the track 2 runs in a row running 380s. I'm assuming that is Austin's first full run at night in a funny car.
It is, and that was one of the things he was interested to learn about.
Yeah, you might want to buy him a drink now at the end of that run. It gets quit the shaking. But Dave Richards in the other lane, that thing, when a Nitro car launches, the wheelie bar is used to limit the amount of squat at the rear of the car. It sets up the tire footprint for some controlled wheel speed there. Well, that thing hit the funny car, or hit the wheelie bar, rebounded, smoked the tires instantly. As a driver, it does 2 things. It stops accelerating, and the engine gets way louder. Wisely stepped off the throttle immediately there.
One of the interesting things in talking with Austin, he said, the good thing about not getting past that Christmas tree on those first 7 passes was I experienced all the bad things that happen in a funny car.
Oh, he's not even close.
Well, he said a lot of the things. He said, I checked a lot of boxes, so I know now what it's going to do.
No, you're right.
That's okay.
That normally might have taken
2-3 years, maybe.
Yeah, 100
Full
runs
season.
in the car.
Yeah.
And he's done it in 1 weekend.
The next pair getting ready to go.
I forgot I miss burnout so much too, Ralph.
Blake Alexander right here.
Yeah, right-hand lane in the Jim Head car, Blake Alexander. And Blake is one of, I think, only 18 drivers that have won NHRA national events in Top Fuel and Funny Car. And you see Jim Head, the car owner and crew chief and super engineer leaning under the hood. And Jim Head, one of the only drivers who ever won Indianapolis in Top Fuel and Funny Car. Left lane, Paul Lee, I would venture to say the most educated funny car driver out there, multiple college degrees, extremely successful businessman, very stout competitor in top alcohol funny car, and now is attempting to do the same in Nitro funny car. And he's got John Medlin and Johnny Lindbergh on board, and ironically, Johnny Lindbergh used to drive the car in the other lane. 6 degrees of separation. Crew chiefs are going to coordinate with the car in the other lane, motion their driver to pull forward, get out of the way.
The hands of the drivers, Blake Alexander and Paul Lee. Good run for Paul Lee. He goes a 3.877, 331.396 miles an hour. And problems for Blake Alexander. He only musters up a 7.411 and 95.210 miles an hour. Oh, and Paul Lee out into the trap at the far end of the racetrack.
Yeah, looks like it may not have had parachutes on that car. I thought the excitement was that Jim Head car looked like it shook the tires, moved out of the groove, and Alexander stepped off the throttle. And in the meantime, you really don't realize what you watch Head's car.
See what happens here. Paul Lee.
Right down Broadway,
no shoots.
Yep, and a lot of times it gets sucked under the car. And at this point, you see the shoots finally blossom, but he's got those carbon brakes, and I guarantee you he's squeezing on that brake handle as hard as he can. That thing dug in hard. The top end pea gravel did what it was supposed to do, but I got to tell you, I got a little bit of concern for that carbon fiber body. They've got a lip that is right on the racetrack with the downforce at speed there. That thing went in pretty hard. Be interesting to see if there's any damage that they're going to need to repair overnight.
Well, we'll be waiting to see Alexis DeJoria right here. And the Bandero car and Cruz Pedregon up next. Let's see if we've got Jamie Howe's microphone fixed.
Okay. And I can now hear you guys loud and clear. Sorry about that little trouble that we had. Still with Daniel Wilkerson. We're talking about the family dynamics. We did see Paul Lee start walking around just a little bit down there. But Daniel, we talked about your dad now taking over as the full-time crew chief, you as the full-time driver. Your hands are a little bit dirty, but nowhere like they have been. How is this a different dynamic for you?
Well, this is going to be optimal for our program, right? So Skag Power Equipment, they need a guy that they can go to, hang out with the dealers, hang out with the distributors, hang out with fans, and Tim couldn't do that, right? He's got way too much shit on his plate. So letting me drive, it's going to handle that dynamic. We thought I was just going to go sonographs and stuff, but it turns out there's a lot of shit that breaks on these cars. So they needed somebody that could fix that too. So we're getting in a groove. We're getting in a cool sync. I still get to work on it, so I'm happy. I get to talk to dealers and distributors, so I'm happy, and everybody's happy. It's badass so far.
You know, everything that you're saying, it's such a unique opportunity. Not everybody gets to be a driver and a crew tuner at some points in time, also a crew member. Having been able to wear all of those hats and have all of that experience, how does it make you a better driver in the seat?
I don't know if it'll make my actual driving better, but I can definitely give feedback better. I've been able to already, like, hey man, I could feel it coming out of retard. It was chattering. Like I already give him that feedback before he even gets back. So far, we've been able to team up and do pretty good without any let's say arguments so far.
Knowing now that you're going to be racing for the full season and you listed all of the things that are going to be on your plate that never have been before, how do you mentally get yourself ready for all of the challenges and the newness that's ahead?
I don't. I actually do better when I just go with the flow, right? So a lot of people say, preparation is everything. Well, on the race car, that's almost the truth. The race is won at the shop with these race cars. They got to be perfect when they get here. But for me, if I just show up and someone says, go over there, I'm way better off.
All right, well, it's good to see you. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, we have a break in the action here as the sun continues to set. A beautiful sunset over the Gulf of Mexico here at the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout, presented by Johnson's Horsepowered Garage. We'll be right back.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
Musco Lighting. We make it happen.
Introducing the new 2024 Ford F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
I'm Bob Tasker III, driver of the PPG Dark Horse Nitro-powered Mustang funny car. PPG and I know a few things about great finishes. PPG's high-quality products help me with speed at our collision centers and, of course, on the racetrack. PPG is more than just a paint company. They deliver first-rate quality, service, and support. Tasker and PPG, partnering together, we finish first.
We'll see Bob Tasker coming up here in a little bit. Austin Prock has already made his first run down in a qualifying session here this weekend. Standing by with Jamie.
We have covered it endlessly. The Austin Prock now making this move into funny car. You got licensed several years ago, but still had to, get comfortable and get back into the groove of things behind the wheel of one of these machines. You're light, though. We averaged them out from all of the test sessions that you made. It was a 58. When you think about just being comfortable, just being a driver, how do you do that?
I don't know. I've been so nervous the last 3 weeks thinking about coming here and, driving one of these beasts. But when we fired it up on Monday, it was just oddly comfortable, and I've been comfortable since. So we struggled all week in testing, but today we were at the track till about 1 in the morning this morning and came up with a game plan, and this thing's been hauling the mail like a true Proc rocket does. So great job to my dad, my brother, this whole Cornwell Tools team, and hopefully we can stay number one, but there's a lot of good cars behind us.
One of the things that I love about your story and now being behind the wheel of this particular car is back in 2021, you didn't have a ride anymore and you became the crew member and worked on this car with your dad. But now to be able to drive it, and you said earlier, it's surreal. How do you put into words what it just means to you?
It hasn't even really hit me. I don't know if it ever will. I'm getting emotional about it and how it's so cool to race with my dad and brother, and thanks fast.
There'll be lots of good memories ahead. Thank you, Austin.
One of the things that's kind of interesting in talking with Austin, he's 50 pounds lighter than Robert Hight, and he's shorter, so he sits lower in the car. So I'm actually having trouble seeing over the injectors, but the center of gravity in the car, he said you can actually put your fist between the top of my head and the roof of the car, whereas with Robert's top of his helmet is basically
right at the pads,
right at the top. So that's changing dramatically also how they're setting that car up.
Well, my estimation, you want to sit as tall as you can in the car and still be safe, because your vision over the injector is how you line the car up on the starting line. It's when you step on the throttle, it's how you spot the car for the groove. Now, once the centrifugal force makes the tires grow and it picks the rear of the car up a little bit more, it's going to free up his vision. But there's a poured seat insert in the car. So we all get in the cars and it's just an aluminum seat bucket there, and then you can do an expanded foam type or you can do this resin-filled deal. And the whole idea is to take up all the space in there so your back doesn't get hurt from launch, from tire shake, if anything goes wrong on the run. But it's also to get you seated with the proper posture and the proper height there. So they'll probably play around with that a little bit. The thing right now is Austin doesn't know what feels right to him because all of this is brand new.
Doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Exactly. When you drive a top fuel car, it's like a rifle. There's all this front end out in front of you. They're easy to aim. A funny car is just completely different.
Easy for you to say, right? All right, Jamie is with Blake Alexander.
One of the things that Blake just said that I thought was so interesting was your mood is directly tied to the performance of your race car. You were able to make 6 great passes in testing the last couple of days, but then didn't make it all the way down the track tonight. What do you do overnight to get ready for Q2 tomorrow?
Open up the computer and try to figure out what we did. This place is killer right now, and that might be some of the problem is that we just didn't bring enough up there, you know, in the bell housing, but we're going to figure it all out, and it's not really that big of a deal. We get 3 more runs tomorrow. I want to thank everyone at Head Incorporated, Pronto Auto Parts, and SCAG JHG. Putting this event on is really special, and it's cool to be here.
To be able to be here, and I mean, you said it is invitation only, to have the opportunity to come out and race for this big money payout. Did you ever think that you would be in that position when you first entered the sport?
No, not really, and I've even just alluded to people that I've driven a lot of cars without a lot of new stuff on it, and this thing is pretty fun to drive because there's a lot of new, you know, parts and pieces on it, and Jim's got some nice tools too. It's fun to play around with these guys.
Thanks, Blake.
Now, they're not going to see these conditions again until tomorrow night, so the first 2 sessions of qualifying tomorrow are going to be in the heat of the day.
It depends. If there's not a lot of direct sunlight, that first session tomorrow might not be too bad. The midday one in the sun, that's going to be the one where you're going to probably have to back the car down, and it's more of a tune-up run for Saturday's eliminations.
Yeah. All right, well, they're still working on the racetrack, so we're going to continue to work on some brakes, and we'll be right back to Bradenton.
Watch out.
The Skag Power Equipment Pros Superstar Shootout presented by Johnson's Horsepower Garage. Ralph Shaheen, Jack Beckman, Jamie Howe, and Courtney Enders with you as we're working our way through this inaugural event, the first session of qualifying, the only session of qualifying here today on this Thursday. Back here tomorrow live on Flow for 3 rounds of qualifying. And then Saturday is Eliminations Day here at Bradenton Motorsports Park. You'll see it all, every pass, live on Flow. Also, especially come Saturday, Jack, we've got cameras in every pit area that you, the viewer at home watching on Flow, can switch around on and watch your favorite crew work on your favorite driver's machine.
Yeah, if you're watching from home, that will be unprecedented. I hear cars.
Here we go. Alexis DeJoria coming right at you out of the smoke.
And in the other lane, Cruz Pedregon. And again, this staggered starting time typically is because the cars have different start line rituals that take a different amount of time. But I'm starting to see some panic under that snap-on body. It looks like they're having problems with the starter. They have disconnected it.
Yep.
They've got issues. Looks like they are going to be a no-show for this run.
Cruz fresh from the Chili Bowl,
Boy,
Tulsa, Oklahoma,
frustrating.
whereas a car owner, he had a couple of midgets running, one of his favorite things to do, and he's crawling out of the snap-on machine. He's going to skip this opening qualifying session.
Would not want to be Cruz's helmet right now.
No, that's not going to make Cruiser happy at all.
That is not good. Be interesting to do some follow-up on that. Maybe Jamie can find out what had happened. But we now have the opportunity with a single run. Listen to this car. If it makes a full pull, you're going to hear it less than 1 second into the run. You're going to hear the RPM drop. And then you're going to hear it out just past mid-track. You're going to hear the RPM drop one more time.
Bandero Premium Tequila Machine. Alexis DeJoria into the lights. And she's good all the way down to third with a 3.893, 330.8 miles an hour. And she goes to third on the board. Well, Jack, what do you think? Assess it for me.
Nice A to B run. Was not as pronounced on the ignition timing retard on that run as you'll hear on some runs. And a lot of times at mid-track when the clutch goes 1-to-1, it can yank that motor down as much as 700 or 800 RPM. It just depends how aggressive the crew chiefs are with the car and how much the clutch wears there. Car moved over to the left a little bit. She did a good job of keeping it closer to the groove there. And they call it an A to B run. I think there's 24 more letters left in the alphabet. That was a pretty good A to M run, and then the rest would be the shutdown area and turning off, right? I'm also very curious because we have the ability to do a lot more follow-up with the looser format here, what kind of damage we might have seen to Paul Lee's car going in the sand. Made a great run, then went into the sand, and it just makes a lot of extra work for the crew guys there. That car comes back, and it has got dust all over it. And first thing they're going to do is blow everything off, then hose everything down with brake clean.
16-time funny car champion John Force is getting ready to go, as is J.R. Todd in his DHL machine, Toyota GR Supra.
J.R. Todd also one of the drivers that have won NHRA national events in Top Fuel and Funny Car. We got him, we got Sean Langdon, we got Jim Head, we got Blake Alexander. I'll have to hit my memory bank here, but that's a pretty good chunk of the people that have done that at this event.
Force's car has fired as well, so these two come to life.
A little bit of an oddity here. I don't see a lot of instant billowing tire smoke, and a lot of times that happens when the track temperature cools down some. That tire's got to build a little bit more heat before you start to see those puffy clouds of smoke coming out.
John Force has done so much in his career, has accomplished so much, has won everything there is to win in drag racing competition. Probably the only guy not wowed necessarily by anything going on here, because he's seen it, done it, faced it, and won it all.
Yeah, if experience is the teacher, that guy's had more learning lessons than probably the next 3 most experienced funny car drivers combined.
Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't get it. I was talking with John about it. He understands. He wanted to be here because he wanted to do everything he can to help, as John always does, propel drag racing further into the future.
There are few people that do more for the sport behind the scenes
of any sport,
and not just when he's at a facility. You cannot believe what he does to promote this sport.
All right, J.R. Todd and John Force. Let's see how they can run here tonight. Cars lit all the way to the far end, and Force goes to number 1 with a 3.849, 332.590 miles an hour, and J.R. Todd slots in at 5th with a 3.912, 331.2 miles an hour on his effort in the DHL car, and Force is number 1.
Yeah, and if you watch that run, you got to factor in reaction times on this, but in the middle of the racetrack, Force's car was just freight training away from that DHL car, and that is the difference in the ET. You know, their launches weren't that different, their speeds were relatively the same, but that area where you start applying levers 7 through 18 in the clutch, we call those the lockup levers. You launch on 6, they stay on for the whole run, then all the rest of them start to come in on a timed application from about 150 foot, and the last one will touch the lever at about 350 foot. Force's car was phenomenal in that area. Probably had a big half-track speed as well.
Jamie, is Alexis happy with her run?
She got out of the car fired up. There was that 389 with a 3. Compare that to the last pass that she made in testing this afternoon. It was an 89 with an O, but very different conditions. The sun was on the track. Now it's dark. This format, you're racing the racetrack. You have no idea who you're going to go up against. That confidence that you now can have with the consistency, how special is that?
It's huge, and to be a part of this event is such a blessing. It's such an honor to be invited. We've got a really consistent race car out through testing and first round of qualifying. I think we've got a good start. An 89, I'm not mad at it. Just to make it down, there was a lot of chaos on the starting line where we weren't sure what we were going to do. I'm glad to see that Paulie's okay. His car's not, but he's all right, and that's all that matters. Happy to go into tomorrow with an 89.
Stuff to build on, sure.
And here comes Ron Capps in the Napa car.
And if it wasn't for the guy that ran just in front of him, gentleman with the last name Force, you do realize Ron Capps would be the man in funny car. He has won, I think, 74 races in Nitro funny car, and he's another one that's won in Top Fuel and funny car. Another one that's here. What an amazing career. And for years, what had escaped him was a world championship. He got 2 of those now. And a win at the U.S. Nationals. He actually won in 2020 at Indy when we ran 4 times at Indy during the COVID spree, but he still hadn't won the U.S. Nationals. He got that out of the way too. Here's another guy that has done it all in drag racing.
75 NHRA.
Well, yeah, and I think one's in Top Fuel, so I think it's 74 in funny car. Yep. I mean, just phenomenal. If you think about it, it's less than half what John Force has.
Yeah.
That's what John Force has done.
Chad Green, right here.
Chad Green, our last winner on the NHRA Tour. Beat Tim Wilkerson in the final of the NHRA Finals last November.
Oh, the chute comes out early on Cap's car. And he's at 8th with a 4.396. Chad Green goes to number 6 with a 3.916, 317.490. That chute coming out just destroying the run for Ron Capps in the Napa car.
Boy, I was trying to do my analyst job there, and they vibrate so much, the entire console fell off the shelf next to me, and I was too busy catching that.
So here's the all-time winners. Hey, you're not so bad yourself there, old Fast Jack, with 33.
Yeah, if it wasn't for 7 other guys, I'd be number 1 all time, huh? I'll tell you this, it's 33 more than I ever thought I'd have as a kid. I just and add 2 more in Super Comp, I got no complaints.
It's a heck of a career. And how
I'd
about
like
the
to
guy
add
with
more.
155? John Force is with Jamie.
And he's got those 155 wins. But one of the other things that John Force has is the experience of getting to do a lot of invitation-only events. Compare all of the specialty things, everything that you've been able to do, to what's going on here at Bradenton this weekend. How significant is this?
Well, I think I'm just a lucky guy. I raced Vandergriff, at Bristol, and, for 250, whatever the price was, I don't remember. But I got the win over him, but I come from the old days of pedaling, and that dragster's a little different animal. Funny car got the win, so right now, one in this show is what you want. And, Peak and Cornwell Tools and Chevrolet and all these people, they make all this possible for me to be out here. So I'm really fortunate. I want to tell Robert, I love you. I know you'll be back. You'll be fine. Everything's good. But Brock's doing a pretty dang good job in that old hot rod of yours. So Cornwell Tools, they're all happy. And but at the end of the day, I just love racing and coming all the way down here. I mean, I came here in the mid-'80s, and I raced, I think, against Hoffman. I know Scott Coletta beat me in the final. So what I'm saying is, this is where I had to come here just to feed my kids over the winter, the snowbirds, and I love it, and I love being back. I love NHRA racing, don't get me wrong, but I love this and what Skaggs and Johnson and all these people are doing to put this on, and then the guy, he freaks me out. The guy that owns the Drag Illustrated, Buck.
Wes Buck.
Well, yeah, like he's unbelievable motivator, and he's wanting everybody just to get on the tire. So anyway, enough of mine. 2 fast hot rods are coming right now.
They sure are. I think if we could bottle that up, though, you could sell this event to anybody, right, Ralph?
Oh, absolutely, Jamie. And you know what? We never get tired of John Force. And to echo what John said, John, we all love NHRA drag racing. That's why we're here. What we all want to see is drag racing continue to grow and get bigger and better. That's ultimately what the event is all about.
John's made the sport better with his right foot, but he's also made it better with his blood, sweat, and tears. The things he does that people don't ever give him credit for, helping out other teams. My first fire suit for a Nitro car, John Force gave me. Still got it.
It's going to be a great pair here with Bob Tasca right here in the multicolored PPG entry, and Matt Hagan.
Oh boy, Hagan way over towards the wall.
Yeah, and going to number 1 is Tasca with a 3840, 339.870. 339.870 miles an hour for Tasca. Here's a look at that run again.
Yeah, Hagan wisely stepped off the throttle. Good launch for both cars. And then watch Hagan's car start to push him over to the right there. Oh boy, Hagan way over towards the and then Tasca, I got to tell you, anytime I see a run that quick, I want to see the incremental numbers. It looked legit. You want to make sure it's legit before you start announcing that that's an all-time best. But my God, that car didn't do anything wrong, right?
It was straight down the
It accelerated for 1,000 feet. If that is a legit speed, that is unbelievable.
No doubt about it, and could be precursor of what we're going to see here over the course of the weekend in Bradenton. And one thing, Jamie, we're hoping to see is Ron Capps have a solid run.
And I just asked him, I said, so the chute came out early, and he said, no, well, you know what, maybe. You didn't even know, he can't see anything from inside of the car, right? But what were you experiencing on that run?
This is my 30th year driving a funny car, and it's funny because I just thought it maybe smoked the tires. I knew Guido was trying to get low ET, and it was running okay, and then it started to lock the clutch up. But when it does, the chutes come out. As a driver, you normally don't know. All of a sudden it's smoking them, but you don't realize the chutes come out and it's raised the car. So I didn't know, honestly. 30 years of driving, you think I'm driving down the highway here with my blinker on for 5 miles, but it's a weird feeling. Driving a funny car, it's the newest. You can ask John Force, who's made more than anybody. There is never one run that's been like another run. It's crazy. So I guess we'll chalk it up to another run. But Guido and our Napa team are doing a great job. This is so much fun right now. This is such a throwback weekend. It's great to have you here. Everybody tuning in, everybody following at home on social media. This is it's a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys.
3 more passes tomorrow too.
Every pass like a snowflake, right, Jack?
Well, I appreciate his honesty, right? The car did something, felt different. He thought it was something else. It was a chute coming out early. You never master everything in these things. And this is the ugliest looking funny car I've ever seen.
Well, it's Top Fuel.
in that case, it is one of the coolest cars I've ever seen.
Yes.
Oh, not good.
No.
Throttle hung up after lifting on the burnout. And boy, as a driver, you talk about things you are not prepared for. Well, here's the problem. If he could have got it stopped right away, he'd just have to back up further.